Hello and welcome to Talking Lit. Today we're going to be introducing a new segment called An Author's Inspiration. We have invited to the show three recently resurrected authors of the 16 and 1700s. They're going to share with us what first inspired them to write. Our first guest was born in Ireland in 1740. He was able to bring awareness of the harsh treatment of his people. Please help me welcome Oliver Goldsmith. So Oliver, how's it been since you recently got a new life?
Well, it's been very, very strange.
Really strange. How would you say it's strange?
There's a lot more taller buildings and strange structures.
Interesting. Okay, well let's get straight to the chase. Let's talk about inspiration. So can you tell me what first inspired you to write and when did you first begin?
Well, the first time I actually discovered that I loved to write was when I was smaller. But my real inspiration came when I was editing for the monthly review.
Oh, really interesting. Okay.
Well, of course, I quit after 5 months.
Oh my goodness. So how did you get back into writing?
It took me about a year, but it was I figured out it was my calling, and I just went on from there and used political reviews and things like that.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about those political views. A lot of authors of your time supported their politics through their writing and made a lot of people angry with them, honestly.
Yes.
We want to know about these controversial issues. Can you tell me what issues you supported in politics and why?
Well, I supported the Tories, of course. They were protectors of the culture and the fine arts. I considered myself a Tory protector.
Interesting. Great. Okay, so why the Tories and not the Whigs? Give me an example.
The Whigs wanted to corrupt society and make it so that anyone can be a Christian. It has to be the right amount of loyalty and love for the church.
Fantastic. Thank you, Oliver, for those incredible points. Our next guest also hails from Ireland, but a century earlier in the 1600s, his life was surrounded in despair. He had many hurdles in his way, but he was able to overcome them and became one of the most inspirational writers of his time. Please help me welcome John Milton.
Thank you.
So, John, how are you doing on this fine morning?
I'm doing alright. I don't quite know where I am, but I'm doing alright.
So, our first question that I'm pretty sure the crowd wants to know, how did you become blind?
Please. Visually impaired.
Visually impaired. Okay, I'm sorry, visually impaired. How did you become visually impaired?
Well, as my age progressed, and medical needs and supplies weren't always available like it is in your present time, my visual ability was decreasing as I got older due to a disease that I know nothing about.
So now we know about one of his main hardships. Well, let's talk about some of the others. So we know that your life was not anything to boast about necessarily.
Oh, no.
Yes, you would agree. There are many, many hardships. Can you tell us about some of those in detail?
Of course. Well, it started with my wife dying, my first wife. I'm working on my third in your time since I'm figuring I'll be here for a while. So they call me the Ray Charles of your president.
Ray Charles, all right.
So first started when my first wife died in childbirth in 1652. Sweet girl. Knew how to make a meat sandwich.
That's very important.
Yes. Started with her, and then in that same year I actually went completely blind.
What a year.
Yes, quite one of, actually not that bad. You'd be amazed.
Really?
Irish know how to party. And following that, soon after, my second wife died the same way in 1658. Yes. So I'm not quite sure if it's something wrong with me or what I was feeding them, but yes.
What's your view? All right. So we know about your hardships. Let's talk about some of your successes. We know that you're a pretty brave man in politics because you actually wrote about Kings, am I correct?
Yes. It's true.
So let's talk about what exactly you wrote about the Kings.
I mainly focused on some of their mistakes and how they were going about leading things.
Surely this upset them, right?
Oh, you better believe it.
So how did you survive? You're a blind man
Uh,
who had medical disabilities. How did you survive?
I was mainly doing a lot of this before I was blind.
Right.
I stopped talking so badly about the Kings a little bit as I got older.
Did you go-
But mainly running away, and with the help of my daughters, I was writing and running away.
Very interesting. Well, thank you for sharing, John. We're going to get into our next writer, and he has a very intriguing story. Please help me welcome our next guest, Jonathan Swift.
So rubbish.
So, Jonathan, how are we doing today? Bad? Why are you bad? You're on a great show with us at Talking
I
Lit. Why are
come
you
back to life and this place looks nasty.
nasty. But tell us about your time. What made your time so much better?
Well, first of all, everyone in my name.
Everyone knew your name. So
Second-
you were popular. You were popular.
Oh yes.
How popular were you? Very.
Well, it started when I went to Trinity University in Oxfordville. I'm sure you've heard of this school.
I have heard of
Even
it,
though
yes.
you'll never get into it.
Oh, okay. Well, so what qualified you to be in that school? What makes you so fantastic as a writer?
Well, first I was born a writer, obviously. So I started writing at a very young age. But when I went off, I had to leave my poor Catholic St. Patrick Church to visit Trinity Oxford. I later returned to Ireland to go ahead and become a very important priest.
Priest. So you went from trying to be a priest to a writer.
Let's just say the temple died in 1679.
So
that
that wasn't
is-
your fault. Temple is a temple.
The
I got
temple
you. I got you.
died, and after that I started writing memorials, basically memories of it.
Interesting. All right.
One you may
Sure.
know, the Tale of Tubbs,
Yes, I heard.
Battle of the Books.
Great writing. Okay, so I want to know, and I think the crowd wants to know, what is in that tray? We know that you've written some satires that are pretty insane, so I want to see what is in there.
Let's just say it's my greatest new experiment, as you can totally see. Yes.
It smells delicious. What is it?
Baby flesh.
Sorry, what was that?
Baby flesh.
Baby flesh?
Who doesn't like baby
Baby
flesh?
flesh, folks. He has baby flesh on the set in a container, and he just opened it up. Why in the world did you bring baby flesh today? Can you explain this?
Do you not know my work?
You gotta tell the
The
crowd.
modest, who does not know the Modest Proposal? One of the best work I've ever wrote. The one that brought England to its knees.
Well, I'm sorry, I did not know. So, why did you write this modest proposal, and can you give us some details about it for those of us who don't know?
Back in 1670s, around that time, England started bringing income tax to Ireland. I write the first 4 Drapers telling them this. They recognized the danger I posed and tried to arrest me.
Interesting.
They think I was stupid enough to leave my name, but they ended up arresting the printer person.
Ah, I see. So you had someone else put your name, so you can be arrested. Very smart. And so how does the baby flesh tie into all this? Why is this a good example for your writing?
The income tax was so dreadful on me. They were on Ireland. It was bringing all of us to poverty. And my modest proposal was this: that since we're all going down in poverty, that since we can't afford food no more, our best option was to eat the firstborn.
Ah.
This isn't work for me because I had no child, so I'm okay. So
So you had no children, so you thought that by eating the first child, they'd be able to support their...
eating a child,
That
that's a
is
proposal.
fantastic. Okay, well, very interesting from Jonathan Swift. We got to learn about baby flesh. We got to hear how a blind man overcame his blindness and did inspirational writing. And we got to hear how someone was able to bring awareness to the harsh treatment of their people. Thank you for joining us on Talking Lit today. I'll see you next time.